You know, a lot of conservatives don't like modern movies. They feel Hollywood has become a cesspool of decadent weasels churning out poisonous leftist propaganda while raking in millions of dollars from an audience they basically despise. But this, of course, is totally unfair to weasels. Instead of going to the movies, many conservatives prefer to stay home and watch old Doris Day films on TV. Conservatives like Doris Day films because they remind them of the days when women were happy, virginal housewives back in 1950 never. But perhaps conservatives could learn something by studying how leftists use the cinema. Remember the film Men in Black, in which an evil alien devoured the insides of a human being and then wore the human skin as a disguise? That's pretty much how the left treats respected institutions. Whether it's Yale University or the New York Times, leftists enter the institution, eat away its inner values, replace those values with leftism, and then walk around wearing the institution as a disguise, saying things like, "Look, I'm an Ivy League university," or "Look, I'm the newspaper of record," when they're really just leftism wearing an empty Yale suit or a New York Times costume. So too it is with movies. Leftists love nothing better than to take over a beloved film franchise that built its reputation on solid values, destroy those values from within, and then disguise their leftism in the franchise. James Bond, for instance, was once a daring agent who spread Western values to foreign climes and fought against the evils of communism. But in Quantum of Solace, written by lefty message guy Paul Haggis, Bond became a guy who fought the spread of Western values and supported communism. He had become leftism, disguised as the great James Bond. Likewise, Walt Disney became a mega studio by making animated films that showcased beautiful princesses with traditional ideas of love and marriage. But bitter feminists have transformed the Disney princess into an angry, weaponized action character destined to end her life in the animated home for lonely old cartoons. The home is in New Jersey, by the way, for those of you who'd like to visit Marita from Brave. Now, in keeping with its policy of polluting whatever decent people love, Disney has announced that its new live-action film, Beauty and the Beast, starring smoking hot cutie pie Emma What's-Her-Name, will be a, quote, feminist fairy tale containing a, quote, exclusively gay moment in which LeFou tries to kiss Gaston. Now, I know many Hollywood filmmakers are very busy rushing from their mistress's house to pick their kid up from rehab and bring him home to their third wife before they hurry off to a party in Encino where they'll sleep with underage boys. So it's nice of them to pause once in a while to explain to our children how they should run their sex lives. So I know I'm really eager to see the new Beauty and the Beast when it opens and to hear all about Hollywood's great sexual values. Unfortunately, I'll be home that day watching Doris Day movies on TV. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky. Tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
It's the Andrew Klavan Show, where we have transformed our own cultural correspondent, Michael Knowles, into a monster. I think it is now time for us to get together, put on our Tyrolean hats, grab some torches, and chase Michael Knowles to the old mill, where we destroy him until the sequel, Return of Michael Knowles, His Reasons to Vote for Democrats, a completely empty book, a book with no words in it, is now #1 on Amazon. And here's the thing. If you go on Amazon and buy Reasons to Vote for Democrats, this empty book, you must buy my memoir, The Great Good Thing, A Secular Jew Comes to Faith in Christ, and any one of Ben Shapiro's books as well. You can buy any one you want, or you go to hell. I'm just telling you, it's a theological point. Once you put an empty book on the bestseller list, you must buy decent books, or you're done. All right. So we're going to talk about Logan today. There will be no spoilers. I do not spoil things. But it really is a fantastic film and it said a lot. Just to start with politics, we're going to get to Logan afterwards. But we have to start and just talk also this week. I mean, so much is going on this week. The stuff about Russia and tweets and Trump's tweets about being spied on and all that stuff, which is all falling apart for the left as far as I'm concerned, because now they're saying, no, he was never under investigation. So then there's no Russian story. Either way they go, they blow themselves up. But I do want to talk, this was the week that the health care bill, this is the signature bill of most of the Republicans ran on, and it's out there. And I just heard somebody, it's so rare that somebody in the media and in politics says something adult and true, and it's no surprise that it was Representative Louis Gohmert, who is I think he must be my favorite person in Washington. Louis first of all, he's a wonderful, pretentious guy, but he is a solid conservative who never backs down, and he always says what he says with a great deal of humor and, easygoing. He's from Texas, easygoing kind of Texas charm. So they've got this bill, and of course, the left is just like, oh, this is going to destroy, people will die in the streets. And they keep lying about the fact, all the insurers are pulling out of Obamacare. So soon, Obamacare will just be this empty shell. There'll be nobody there, and the prices will be incredible, and there'll be no health care, no health insurance. And yet the Democrats are saying, you can't replace this because it's a wreck, but it's our wreck, so you have to leave it there. So they've got to replace it. The Republicans ran on repeal and replace. And by the way, just to be frank, repeal doesn't really mean anything, because if you pass another law, the modern law replaces the old law. So the repeal thing is kind of for show. But okay, there it is. And they bring out this thing, and it's got some entitlements in it. It's going to keep some things that, I actually am not sure that its take on Medicaid, which is to send out block grants to the states, I'm not sure that's a bad thing. And it's still early. It's hard to get, there's a complicated bill. It's hard to get it all done. So Gohmert, now they go into this thing what's called markup, which is where they change the bill entirely. They rewrite the bill. There are amendments, and the amendments totally change the bill. And Louis Gohmert had this to say about it.
So there are things that have to be done, that have to be included, but we got a starting point, and I think amidst the horse excrement, we can find a pony around here somewhere, and that's what we're going to be looking to have. I think we'll have a racehorse as long as we get a good amendments when we're done.
I love that. It's an old joke. What is an optimist is the little kid who claps her hands when she sees a pile of horse manure because she knows there's a pony around here somewhere. And he's saying it's in there, and they're going to find it. The thing is, you and I and our emotions and our principles and our anger and our happiness is what these guys use to negotiate with. It's all about negotiation, and Trump has sold himself to us as a great negotiator, so he's going to go in there and hopefully get some kind of version of the bill he wants, because if the bill fails, Trump fails. And this is the thing that people don't understand. If the bill fails, Trump is going to have a hard time getting future bills through, and the Republicans are going to scatter and split and divide, and they're going to lose in the midterms. Okay, so that's what's at stake. Let alone the fixing the health care thing. That's what's at stake. And what Paul Ryan understands, and I know a lot of conservatives don't like Ryan. I'm actually kind of fond of him because I think he's done some brave things that you don't get credit in the House because you're always compromising. So people who are sitting at home and never have to compromise because they're living in their own imaginations are like, oh, if I were there, I would. Well, he's herding cats. He's got to get something that goes through. So Ryan went on Tucker Carlson, and he said something that was really clever, that most of these guys, I think it's over 60% of the people in the House of Representatives, the Republicans in the House of Representatives, have never been a governing coalition. So listen to Ryan.
Yeah. Here's what we did a year ago. A year ago, House Republicans said, we need to take a plan to repeal and replace Obamacare to the country. We spent a year working on this plan. All House Republicans participated in this. We had these working groups where anybody who had an idea brought it to the table. Right. And then we reached consensus as conservatives, as Republicans, on what that plan looked like. We called it a better way. We put it on the internet. We all ran for Congress in 2016 on that plan. I remember. It was modeled on the Tom Price legislation. That's what this is. This is the legislative text of that plan that we ran in 2016 on what we would replace Obamacare with. Tom Price, who's now the Secretary of HHS, was the architect of it. 12 Freedom Caucus members were the co-sponsor of that bill as recently as December. So we are going through what I would call the sort of typical growing pains from being an opposition party fighting Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid to a governing party. And now we're translating that legislation, that plan, into a bill.
So what he's saying is, up until now, Republicans, I think it is 60% of the House, have never had to take responsibility for the things they do. Because when you pass laws, laws have consequences, and those consequences play out in the elections, in the midterms. So, here's Jim Jordan, who's part of the Freedom Coalition. These are the guys, the Freedom Caucus. These are the guys who are opposing the bill from the right. They're calling it Obamacare light. And they're saying, oh, well, we repealed it all these times. Why don't we just repeal it now? And Jordan is one of these guys, I think, who came in 2009. So he has never had to govern before, and now he does. And listen to what he's saying. And I know a lot of people will approve of this. A lot of people on the right will hear this and go, yeah. But hear him out.
So let's do this right. And more importantly, let's do what we told the voters we're going to do. That's why today I'll be introducing legislation which just says clean repeal. Let's vote on the exact same thing 15 months ago. Every single Republican in the House, every single Republican in the Senate voted on. We put it on President Obama's desk. Of course, he vetoed it. But let's put that same legislation on President Trump's desk and then work on the replacement model that will actually bring down that cost of insurance. I don't think the plan they introduced yesterday is going to bring down the cost for working class and middle class families.
Okay. Now, first, 2 points about this. First, everything is poker, right? Everything is negotiation. This guy's taking a position. He knows that he has, some power. He has a caucus. And your anger that you feel about this, that we're going, yeah, Jim, let's just repeal it. Those are his cards. Those are his cards. Those are the cards he brings to the table. He's bringing your anger and your principles to the table. But theoretically, if he's a smart guy, and I think he is. If he's a smart guy, he knows he's going to lose. He's going to compromise. He's going to get some stuff. He's not going to get some stuff. If he's not a smart guy, then he's serious, okay? Because if they brought a bill to just repeal Obamacare, what would happen is Obamacare, which is collapsing, would collapse a lot faster. It would just collapse entirely. And all the people who got insurance or got on Medicaid and Obamacare would suddenly be without insurance and without health care, and you'd have daily reports, minute-by-minute reports of each child who is dying of some disease that he can't get treatment for because the Republicans left him without a safety net. That is what would happen. Obamacare was passed in 2009. The world in which Obamacare is passed no longer exists, right? You can't step in the same river twice. 8 years ago, it was a different market, a different marketplace, different healthcare system. Obamacare changed that. It did change it. So now these guys have to react to what is there. And so you can't just repeal it because there's nothing else there. There's no net to catch the people that it actually brought in. Those people have been screwed in a lot of ways. Obama made sure that you had to buy, what Obamacare does is it makes sure that you have to buy expensive insurance to pay for the insurance of poor people, right? So that, in other words, your insurance now, you're a male, and suddenly your insurance is, it covers OBGYN care or something like this. It's this Cadillac plan that you don't want and you don't need. But at the same time, what's it called, the deductible, is so high that it's like having no insurance at all unless your daughter goes to buy birth control. Then she gets it for free. It's an insane system, just an insane leftist hodgepodge of a system that wasn't meant to work. It was meant to collapse. But, if the Republicans do what Jordan wants to do and repeal and don't have a replacement, and they ran on repeal and replace, there won't be Republicans in there in 2 years. That's not who will run the, Republican. That's not who will run the Congress. And what we're looking for like President Mike Pence, like 8 years from now. That's what, we're like thinking ahead. So you've got to govern. You got to do the things. You got to compromise. I know it makes everybody angry, but you got to do it. Here's what it looks like when you don't do it. Okay. I got to play this before we start talking about Logan. Elizabeth Warren, darling of the left, right, is on Stephanie Ruhl's show. It's MSNBC, isn't it, Stephanie Ruhl? Yeah. Let me just play the introduction. I want to play the introduction that Ruhl gives her. It is this worshipful introduction of Elizabeth Warren. So let's start with that.
The policies
that's not it.
Are for the bill.
Yeah.
My next guest has been a public thorn in the side of Republicans for quite some time. It came to a head when she faced off with Mitch McConnell over a speech on the Senate floor in February. McConnell's complaint about the incident became a rallying cry for women and Democrats everywhere when he said that Senator Warren had been warned to stop, but, quote, nevertheless, she persisted.
Okay, nevertheless, and that became the slogan, this Twitter hashtag, nevertheless, she persisted. What a hero she is. So she's given her the full hero's welcome, rolling out the red carpet, and Elizabeth Warren uses her moment to now say to send out the leftist line. Washington is all about the fat cats, and all Trump and his millionaire friends, all they're doing is helping the fat cats. Never mind that more middle-class jobs were created in February, twice as many middle-class jobs as anybody thought there would be. Never mind all that, but that's she's going to sell the leftist line. And listen to what Stephanie Ruhle, this worshipful interviewer, asks her.
The policies here are for the billionaires, they're for the bankers, they're for the giant corporations. They get the tax breaks, they get the regulatory boosts, they get the great deals in Washington. And regular families, just people who are trying to put it together day by day by day, they're the ones who get left behind.
But Senator, you guys were in power for the last 8 years. Why is it that it didn't work for those good Americans you were working for?
Let's be clear about what it means to be in power. The Republicans had a blocking position.
Yeah, it's all the Republicans' fault. And for 2 years, the Republicans had zero position, and we got Obamacare, which is collapsing, okay? So just while you're yelling at guys like Paul Ryan, who is a cat wrangler, I understand, he's going to make some compromises. While you're yelling at those guys, just remember, these guys have to think about the future. If they're not in power, they can't do anything, and they'll wind up on Fox News with Sean Hannity asking them exactly that question. You were in power. Why didn't you get it done? So they've got to do something. I know that is not the purest of the pure. I know it's not, the uncompromising conservatism that you can operate in your own mind or on the comment section of a blog, but that's the reality that they're dealing with in the House. So just as you watch it, remember, you're watching a poker game, and there's going to be some compromises and horse trading, to mix a metaphor. Although we have, at our poker games, we have horse trading, right? Yeah, that's okay. All right, we're going to talk about Logan and a lot of movies and what the movies mean, but you got to come over to thedailywire.com to hear it. While you're there, you can subscribe for a lousy $8 a month. You get the movie Arroyo, and you get to be in the mailbag. Boy, that was a great mailbag. It was really a fun mailbag yesterday. And the people who want to be condemning, throwing their Bibles at people are always angry at me at the end. But that's okay. That's all right. All right, come on over to thedailywire.com.